Apostles of Reason.
Today we'll be taking a look at an extremely informative example of liberal thinking on college campuses today with Jeff Durbin as he goes to LSU to speak with students on campus about abortion. And throughout this, he'll be speaking with mainly one student, but at the end, there's an interesting conversation that arises as a second student interjects and gets involved with a deep logical analysis. And so let's go ahead and dive in, see how Jeff starts this off, and then stay for the end because there's a really crazy clip we're going to check out.
It's definitely disproportionate. Do you know there's a reason for that?
Because Planned Parenthood sets up in mostly black neighborhoods?
Because who are incapable of taking care of their kids?
Do you know what Margaret Sanger said about the black race?
Who?
She wanted to exterminate them?
Yes, there's that thing about Planned Parenthood,
They've done a great job.
Look,
It's genocide.
these communities cannot care for their kids.
So kill them?
It's not killing them.
That's not
They're
killing?
like a thing yet.
Well, that's a human being. How many years are you in your study here at LSU?
2.
Have you taken any biology classes?
Mm-hmm.
So you know in biology classes, every biological textbook will tell you that all human life begins at conception. All human life.
It does not say that.
Yeah, that's a fact of biology. It's not even disputed in the abortion industry. It's all, you are fully human from conception. You and me.
Yes, you're not like a crocodile from conception. Of
right, you're
course.
human. Yeah. Everything about you and I, at the moment of conception, was determined. Eye color, your genetics, everything about you. The book that writes you was at that very moment. The only difference was a difference of degree. So you were very small, you're not fully developed. Well,
Right.
so are 1-year-olds and 6-year-olds and 9-year-olds. They're still developing and they're still small.
Oh, I think even taking like a Plan B pill after, you have sex and stuff like that, you really think that's bad too?
If the human life was created, yeah, that's
Really?
that's the unjustified taking of human life. And here's the thing, brother. Hey, listen, my name's Jeff, by the way.
Zach.
Pleasure to meet you. The problem we would say here is that this isn't a problem of biology or what is the case. It's human from conception, that can't be disputed. It's a moral question because you agree, like, okay, yeah, that's a human life.
It is a moral question.
But it's a moral question. Should I be able to take the life of a child because it's inconvenient or because my circumstances are tough? And it's really an issue of sin.
I mean, what about the accidents though?
What accidents?
The accidents when women don't want to get pregnant or people don't want to get pregnant and
But
then they do.
They get pregnant because they have sex.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, that's a choice. You had sex, and what happens?
Is also a choice.
What happens in the world? Well, but when you have sex, we know that if we have sex,
You run the risk,
that
yeah.
you can get pregnant,
But
right?
we have measures in place to eliminate that risk.
Right, to kill the babies.
Right.
Moral measures.
To kill the babies.
That's the issue. It's
Well,
immoral.
And then, okay, by that argument, having sex before you're ready to have a kid is also immoral, and I doubt that you'd find a lot of people.
Well,
agree with you
and
on-
it goes down to it's another moral issue.
Yeah.
Did God create us to be promiscuous and to have sex and create life and kill life, or did God create us as unique, beautiful, wonderful creations of God that
God
are in
gave us
God's
the choice.
they're in God's image? Hey, you have choices every day to sin or not sin, to love
Right.
God or not love God, and this is a choice to not love your neighbor. This is our neighbor.
That's a result of those choices.
But
That's
again,
our neighbor.
God gave us the choice, right? I mean, from jump.
He didn't give us the permission to murder others. He gave us
us the choice.
he gave us a command. He said, "You shall not murder."
But again,
that's a command.
Still
Somebody
capable
has a-
of doing
somebody
it.
has a-
Sure. And
So-
what happens to people who do murder?
They didn't,
According to Jesus.
they didn't. God didn't take that.
So there's a lot of interesting points they've tapped on so far. The first jarring point that I'm sure you noticed was when Jeff at the very beginning was pointing out that abortion disproportionately affects the black community in large numbers. Here's the stat from Pew Research. In the D.C. area, New York City, and 31 states that reported racial and ethnic data on abortion to the CDC in 2021, 42% of all women who had abortions in 2021 were non-Hispanic black, while 30% were non-Hispanic white. And if you take into account the population rate, it'll show that it's wildly disproportionate that the black community is being affected by this. So that's a fact. And the student responded by saying, yeah, but these communities aren't capable of taking care of their kids. That was his in-depth logical analysis, was these groups are not capable of taking care of their kids. Okay, so that was his first rebuttal.
punishments ever in terms of justice, we would look there and say evil. And if we went there together, we'd be speaking out against it together. You can't treat them like that. But what will your argument be with the Germans in that day who said, yeah, no, I know it looks like a person. It's not a person, it's a parasite. We can do with them what we want. They did what you're doing now to these.
But again, it's very different.
How?
Because those were conscious, autonomous people that they were calling parasites.
But I already responded to that, though, right? Like, what happens to the guy in a coma?
Right.
Do we have
his
permission to
family-
kill? Do we have
his
permission to
family-
kill him?
They get to decide whether they want to pull the plug or keep him on.
But pulling the
life support
plug
or
means
whatever.
just letting him die of natural causes. It's not being. It's
Natural
not.
causes the
It's
car accident?
It's not being forced. Right. The car accident caused.
natural cause?
Yeah, exactly. The car accident caused the injury and the death. The family saying, "Let's let nature
Let's say
take
the
its
abortion
course."
caused
This
nature
no
took its
no
course
no
and
no
you sucked
no.
the brain out of
What
the baby.
happens?
Nature took its course and it died.
No, a human being went in and actually, with malice, a forethought, crushed the skull of the baby, decapitated him, disemboweled him.
With malice?
Yeah.
Or is that just the procedure?
What's malice of forethought? In other words, you think ahead of time what I'm going to do to end the life of this human being. That's malice of forethought. Do you see? Were you raised in church?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah? So listen, the fundamental issue here, because you said it a minute ago, you said, yeah, it's a moral issue. That's what it is. It's not biological.
it's a moral issue.
It's a moral issue.
And-
It wasn't a biological issue with slavery. Those blacks are as equally as human as everybody else. It wasn't an issue in the Holocaust. Jews are equally human as everybody else. It was always a moral question. It was evil people, wicked people looking down their nose at black people and saying, because of the color of your skin, because of your tribe, I am allowed to own you, control you, because you're less human than me. Same issue. Holocaust, looking down their nose saying, I see you as a parasite, I see you as evil, and so I can do with you and your children as I please. It's an issue of sin. It's always an issue of sin. And the only thing that can save us from that is Christ. He's God who became man, lived perfectly, died for sinners, and rose again from the dead, for all people who trust in him. But the issue here is fundamentally moral, and this culture has indoctrinated all of us. It's indoctrinated us. Like it's taught us to say, yeah, less than human. And that's exactly how they felt during the time of slavery, is that it was common for people to look around black people and say, yeah, less than human. He could be enslaved. Like if I walked by the auction block and I saw 3 black men standing up on posts in a marketplace, at the time it was common fare. People would go, yeah, less than human. They're allowed to do that to them. But if you saw white people up on those posts, people would have been aghast. Wait, what are you doing? That's a superior human. You can only oppress those humans. It was always sin. And the only thing that freed us from the bondage of slavery was the gospel itself and the Christian worldview. And the only thing that's going to free us from this abomination is the gospel itself and the Christian worldview.
Again, I don't think you could compare slavery and the Holocaust.
Can you refute it?
To people
Can you-
getting abortion.
Can you refute it?
Yes, I've been trying to refute it this whole
What he's trying
time.
to show is that you're using the same argumentation. He's refuting your argumentation by showing you how they use the same argumentation you do, but we can refute that. So he's showing that you're being inconsistent in your argumentation because it doesn't.
Because you would fit in very well in principle with their argumentation. You just don't like who they were doing it to. You would say your arguments are good because you can have the choice to do that however you want, but I don't like that you're doing it to black people. I don't like you're doing it to Jews.
Shift it over to these babies.
Yeah, you see what I'm saying? In principle, your argument is the same. You've just chosen a different class of human to dehumanize.
Or I've chosen humans.
But that is human.
Like, I can see how it would be,
So
like,
then-
given the full term, yeah, but like,
So how about
different.
my
It's-
2-year-old's not fully developed, bro, and he's fully
but
dependent.
he's out and he's conscious and he's autonomous.
So the birth canal is magical. Like
Sure.
when I pass through it,
Yeah.
I become human.
Yeah.
So that
say
isn't
when you
that
cut the umbilical
isn't that
cord or
completely okay? So now it's umbilical cord. So when they come out, so let's say the baby comes out, and up to that point the mother and father wanted it. It comes out, and the parents go, you know what? Change of heart. Cut his head off.
cannot do that.
But they didn't cut the umbilical cord. You said if the umbilical cord's cut, then it's human. Let's say they wait. Let's say they say let's don't cut the.
We'll call it birth control.
Birth canal. So the birth canal is magical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so what Jeff is tapping on right here is the fact that in the times where slavery was legal or allowed and promoted and the Jews were being oppressed during the time of the Holocaust, their arguments didn't rely on biology in the same way that the pro-aborters don't use biology to support their arguments, because the biology is on the pro-lifer side, which is that when the egg becomes fertilized at conception, that creates a new biological life, new DNA sequence, new genetic structure, and so forth. And so they can't use the biological argument, and what they're doing is they're dehumanizing a group that is already understood to be human, but they're just using propaganda campaigns and ideologues and social bubbles, ideological bubbles like on college campuses, to indoctrinate people into believing that, well, even though it's a human life, it's lesser value because it's inside the woman, and the woman should have autonomy over what's inside of her. And so Jeff's pointing out that this is an entire propaganda campaign similar to that of Nazi Germany. And the student is not able to refute this with any sort of argumentation. He's more or less just kind of using rhetorical devices haphazardly on accident, and he's just kind of going by instinct. But it shows that he hasn't thought about these deductively in a logical manner, because he's not able to actually like pull out the logic of this. But wait till this next clip, because this is where we really get to the action, okay?
Giver. If he's your Lord, is he your Lord?
He doesn't talk about abortion.
Is he? Abortion is the unjustified taking of human life. That's a euphemism.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now we're losers? See, I think what happens, this just showed something. A moment ago, you were saying that Christ was your Lord. You believed.
Y'all are sitting here putting this shit on here like women want to have
Is it
abortions.
offensive? Is it offensive?
They sit there like we
No one
think
is happy
abortion
about
is
it.
funny. But it's even more comical that y'all are here. Y'all are fucking losers.
Wait.
Instead of going do something.
Can I ask you a question?
I don't really want to talk to
Okay,
you.
women. You said women don't want to have abortions.
Yes, women don't.
So
we
how
don't-
come 3,000 are dying a day?
Because they have to.
They have to.
Well, can I ask you a
don't
question?
understand
I don't see you advocating for adoption agencies.
I adopted my son. My name is Jeff. I adopted my son. He was going to be aborted. I adopted him.
with the time
So your
we
argument's
have right
failed,
now,
isn't it?
No,
Wouldn't it be
I don't.
better
And why is it hard for women to have an abortion?
Because
Why?
we should have the choice.
No,
I
why is
shouldn't
it
have to have a
hard?
baby.
You said it
No,
hurt.
listen to
You
me.
said it hurts
I
her.
shouldn't have to have a baby because you want me.
What'd you call it?
They
I
are
shouldn't have to
dying.
have a baby.
So you should be able to kill the baby.
Systems are so
Yes.
poor.
There you go. Did you?
they are
Hey,
very
you should
underfunded.
listen to what she just said.
What she
If
said.
I
I
want
said.
to kill my baby, I'm gonna kill that shit.
Thank you. You said women
I have ovaries
don't
and you don't.
take pleasure in it. That's how we started. She just.
You're generalizing.
No,
Yeah.
no. She
don't
just
even get
she
mad
just
'cause they're
refuted
actually,
your
like,
position.
stupid.
Is she speaking on behalf of all women?
But I just showed you that this is the face of abortion. You tried to protect it. This is the real face. She said, I should be able to kill that shit if I want to, her baby.
And I will.
So should I be able to rape a baby if I want to?
What does that have to do with it?
You said you should be able to kill a baby if you want
Because it's my
to.
body.
Okay.
It's not your body.
It's not your body.
It is
The
my
baby is
The
not your
baby
body.
is
There are still
cells.
children in
It's
the
fucking
adoption.
cells.
Your
It's my
cells.
stomach.
Your
You
cells.
adopted them all.
Human cells. Your argument's failed, isn't it?
No,
The baby's
it's not,
body is
because
not
I'm
your
a woman and
body.
You're a dumb man. You
Okay.
put a little cross on.
Okay.
Abolish abortion. Y'all
So-
are actual losers.
So what if I wanted to stop sex trafficking? Can I do it because I'm not a woman?
Well, are you here talking about sex trafficking?
Well, hold on. I'm asking you to reason with this. I don't have a uterus. Can I stop sex trafficking?
You're not doing that. That's obsolete.
Well, you don't have a penis, so you shouldn't talk to the guys that are sex trafficking.
That is
Right? Isn't that your argument? No, you can't think about it because your logic is tainted with
My logic
sin.
is not tainted. Your logic is tainted.
Your argument, you're very religious. You're very religious. Your argument is if I don't have a uterus, I can't speak against this atrocity.
No, that
You don't
has
have a
nothing to do with
penis.
religion.
You don't have a
That has nothing
penis.
to do with religion, and it has nothing to do
You
with
don't
sex
have a
trafficking.
penis.
And so this is the extremely telling moment in this video, an unfortunate spot for me to pause, but basically she came in with the idea that if I want to kill my baby, I'm going to kill that shit, which is a deep logical analysis that she was able to flesh out thoroughly throughout this video by essentially saying that she has a uterus, and so she should have control over her body. And of course, it's not true that it is her body. It has a different DNA, different genetics, an entirely different physical body as well, different cells, like everything about it. It's just inside the uterus. And so Jeff brings up the logical argument that, well, if you're not affected by something, should you not be able to speak about it? Because that is essentially what she is saying. He shouldn't have an opinion because he doesn't have a uterus, therefore he couldn't be affected by abortion. And so he says, should you be able to speak about sex trafficking? Or should I be able to speak about sex trafficking? Because men generally aren't sex trafficked, for example. And she said, but y'all aren't out here talking about sex trafficking. So she wasn't able to comprehend the hypothetical. And that's not a very deep level of reasoning. That's like 7th grade reasoning and logic. And this kind of shows, again, the indoctrination at these universities because they are told what to think. She clearly did not come to her position through logical analysis. If she did, she would be able to flesh that out fairly quickly offhand, like it was second nature, because that was how she actually came to the conclusion. It's the underbelly is a foundation of logic that leads up to it. There's no substance to the belief, and so when she is told to flesh it out, she uses ad hominem attacks and attacks his character as opposed to attacking the arguments, which is the sign that you don't have a good argument to propose, because if you did, you would use logic as opposed to attacking someone's character. And this further exemplifies the idea that college campuses are an ideological bubble that support indoctrination and promote different ideologies in order to attain power for the Democratic Party and the leftist agenda. And this is obvious evidence of that. And this is the state of colleges in the U.S. right now.